This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Juan?
Well, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, or ICE, is holding an untold number of people in secret detention facilities all over the United States. That's according to an explosive report that's the cover story of the latest issue of The Nation magazine. In addition to its publicly listed field offices and detention sites, ICE is holding people in 186 unlisted and unmarked spaces known as subfield offices. Many of the offices are hidden in suburban office parks or commercial spaces, revealing no information about their ICE tenants. According to the report in The Nation, they are mainly used to house individuals in transfer and are not subject to the basic standards applied to ICE detainees. The Nation is also reporting that ICE agents regularly impersonate civilians and rely on other illegal tricks to arrest longtime U.S. residents who have no criminal history. ICE agents have posed as occupational safety and health inspectors, insurance agents, and even religious workers.
We invited ICE to respond to the allegations, but they refused to comment on any aspect of the Nation's investigation. In a telephone call with Democracy Now!, a spokesperson from ICE's Office of Public Affairs simply described the articles as, quote, conspiratorial nonsense and fiction. For more on the story, we're joined here in New York by the author of this two-part investigation, Jacqueline Stevens. She filed a Freedom of Information Act request to obtain a partial list of the subfield offices. Her articles are available at thenation.com, the latest issue of The Nation magazine as well. They're called America's Secret Ice Castles and ICE Agents' Ruse Operations. Jacqueline Stevens is a professor in the Law and Society program at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and her new book is called States Without Nations, Citizenship for Mortals. Welcome to Democracy Now! Explain exactly what you found.
Okay, so I found that there are 186 subfield offices that are scattered around the country and that are designed, according to ICE's own report by Dr. Dora Skero, to hold people on a temporary basis, typically for no more than 16 hours. And the problem with these is that they're not marked, they're not, the information about their whereabouts is not publicly available, and there's no accountability for the treatment of people who are held in those facilities. I am not making any claims about a conspiracy. I'm not making any claims about the intentions behind, not having these offices marked or the information publicly available. So that's a very surprising claim on their part. I'm simply noting that according to their own records, there are 186 subfield offices, and their locations are not publicly available.
And were you able to get a sense of the capacity in terms of the numbers of people that they're holding and for how long they end up actually being held?
Yeah, well, their own report says that about 910 people a day are held in these facilities, and that amounts to about 340,000 people a year who are going through these facilities. And that's their data. So I have no idea why they're claiming that that's not true. I mean, that's their report.
Talk about how immigrants are picked up.
So there's a number of ways that immigrants can be picked up. The majority of people are picked up through something called a criminal alien program. And that might suggest that most of the people being picked up are criminal aliens. But again, according to ICE's own statistics, among the 48% of people who are picked up through the criminal alien program, 57% are not criminals. And this number's actually gone up. So in 2008, 53% of the people who were picked up through the criminal alien program were not criminals. These criminal alien program offices are typically in these ICE subfield locations.
And when they say criminal alien program, they're talking about people who may have been previously convicted of a crime, who they were trying to deport, to pick up and deport, or are they talking about people who are actually wanted criminals?
So it's typically people who are already booked in jails or in prisons, and there's some indication that they are foreign-born. And those records then come to the attention of the criminal alien program. So they might not even be charged with anything. Their arrests could be pretenses for bringing them into the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement on the part of local law enforcement. And that's a pattern that has occurred and been noted frequently in the South. where local police will pick people up on pretextual violations, not charge them with crimes, and bring them to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement offices through the criminal alien program.
Professor Stevens, you quote James Pendergraft, an ICE official, speaking at a conference last year, saying if you don't have enough evidence to charge someone criminally, but you know or you think he's illegal, we can make them disappear.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
So he's talking about the facilities that ICE makes available through not just these subfield offices. And just to be clear, the vast majority of detainees who are held are not held on a long-term basis in these subfield offices. They're held in about 300 jails and ICE-run detention facilities across the country. And so what he's talking about is the ability of ICE to distribute people among these facilities, and the typical system that governs the organization of detainee records would mean that it would be very difficult for anybody to locate the whereabouts of the people they pick up.
Are family members notified when someone is arrested?
No, they're not notified. And not only are they not notified, even when they make very diligent efforts to locate their relatives, they meet obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and the phones don't get answered. When they do get answered, people are non-responsive.
They don't know if they've been killed on the street or something?
No, there's no information that's been made available, and ICE doesn't dispute that. ICE claims that it's not their position to find to locate people, that it's not their responsibility to even notify attorneys when their clients are transferred from one facility to another facility. They're on record stating that.
What about the whole issue of how many of these people are picked up? The question of ICE agents impersonating, in some cases, Mormon missionaries you write about, or insurance agents. How does that work?
Okay, so one consequence of the detention operations and the removal operations, moving away from these big workplace raids, that is something that the Obama administration has dedicated itself to, has been more surreptitious operations and an increase in this. I mean, these have been going on under the Bush administration as well, but there's an impression that there's been a shift to these more surreptitious operations for targeting people. And among the operations that I encountered, and ICE calls these ruse operations, and just to be clear, under our law, ruse operations for the most part are legal. It is legal for federal agents to impersonate civilians for the purpose of tricking people who they suspect have arrest warrants and so forth and obtaining their custody. It is not legal for federal agents to impersonate religious workers. And the spokesperson for the ACLU explained why, and I quote her in the article, but it's a pretty obvious principle. If religious workers are suspected of being federal agents, then that makes it very difficult for them to fulfill their duties if it's part of the Mormon practice to proselytize, and a community is suspecting Mormons of being federal agents, then they'll be hostile to them, and that will